Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of DMS who rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is The U.S. Withdrawal from Iraq is an ongoing process. And ultimately, the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is setting these Edomites up for the kill. All right, the Most High is definitely not dealing with these devils. And I said that before, and just the way that the map itself is drawn out, and the where everyone is at. You know, America has been the golden cup. America has been safe and protected because it has waters and it's able to go out and do everything to other people. But in these last days, things is set up, against this devil. And that's why he's going so hard for Greenland. You know, so just looking at the map, he wants Greenland. Don't U.S. wants Greenland because there's things happening over here where the ice is melting and the resources and things like that is becoming available. I've heard that even Greenland itself has resources, right? And America is, needing these things. I even talked about these straits and who controls like I believe more than half of the world's oil comes out of this area here. And you have to get it through the strait. This is Strait Miles. It's two of them, two straits. Yeah, Strait of Hormuz, right? And then you have this strait here is like a choke point. Now this is the one I believe that they had a problem with. They was fighting the Houthis over here, America, because they was closing this thing because of what Israel was doing, right? And America lost. America could not do anything about that. They kind of left, and they're still kind of back and forth. Houthis, Israel, and all that are fighting. And this is another choke point that America can't really do nothing about because the people that's in the area. All right. Then you have this strait over here. You have Iran, of course, which is a major problem. And you got, Pakistan, Afghanistan. These people don't fuck with America. All right. And Iran is able to close this thing down. And now the oil from Qatar, where Israel hit, the United Arab Emirates and all of that, Oman, these people, we'll have to see. We have to see. I've been watching them, trying to see, what was up, what they're doing. They're doing some things. I have to look more into it, really and truly, and I will. But anyway, Iran can close this up. And that's what Iran said they'll do. So obviously these two individuals can't do shit about it anyway. Iran said they'll close this, and that's another problem for America. Right. Then you got Turkey, who's going to join along with Iran and Russia and all that right here too. All right. So far, they was able to take over Syria, and even that guy that they put there might, turn on them because Turkey and Syria is doing business, which Israel is upset about. Then of course you got Asia here, Russia is here. You got the EU, NATO that's going to turn on America because the Great War is going to be fought here, right? World War III in this area here, the Levant region. And America will have to come from where they at, which they have a lot of bases here and everything, But anyway, my point is that the map is just set up against America. It was set up so America can be, okay and be all right and show dominance from afar, travel far, go over there and trade other people's lands and come back. If you want to come to America, you got to travel, especially whoever like Russia would have to come around over here or somehow come up under, or I mean, you come this side, they'll come through this way. But either way, we got Hawaii and different things in the ocean and bases and things, So America's been pretty good. And that's why Jeremiah 51 says what it says. And I'm going to get to the point. I don't want to make this too long, basically, but let me grab this. Jeremiah 51:7 says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand and made all the earth drunken. The nation have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. right? And basically, you know, America's been good. America has been the dominant power in the earth that pushed forth its laws, right, on the world instead of these different treaties and different regulations and things like that. And now America's basically reneging on a lot of these things, and it's causing the world to uh, go in uproar, and they're upset, and they're trying to find a way around America now at the end. Um, so it pretty much says the same thing, right? So my point in this video is that another trap, besides just the land itself, the layout of the world, is that America has put in place like different treaties they did listen to. And one of those was to withdraw from Iraq. Now, at a time like this, where war is about to heat up and they're moving with great wrath because they have a short time, this is the wrong time. You know, even before then, they left out of, I believe it was Afghanistan, right? They left all the equipment over there in Afghanistan with Biden. And now under Trump, they're completing their treaty deals where they're getting out of these different bases. And at the point now where the least of the flock, Israel, is drawing them out over here, and now so they're giving up key points, basically, where they can have a foothold in the area, and now they don't. So they'll have to set up tents somewhere else, maybe Syria and Israel, wherever the case may be. And they still got other bases. So let me get this video here. I just wanted to play this now. This says Iraq posts first video, U.S. troop evacuate the base and panic. Walks away from Iran's revenge site. And I just want to point out that this is something that was already in play. The slow process of America withdrawing from the area. So it was interesting that they titled that. But I mean, we are in those times anyway where this would make sense, because they just tried to strike Iran, right? And they at the last minute said never mind. Okay? So
U.S. forces have now fully and completely withdrawn from Iraq's strategically critical Ain al-Assad air base in Anbar province, as Iraqi army units formally take over operational security control of the sprawling desert facility housing thousands of troops for over 2 decades. Iraq's Ministry of Defense publicly announced that its conventional army brigades have now assumed complete tactical security control and perimeter defense responsibilities over this strategically positioned Western air base, essential for regional counterterrorism operations and logistics throughput. This final comprehensive withdrawal directly follows bilateral 2024 security agreement signed between Baghdad and Washington, explicitly committing both governments to methodically phase out all U.S.-led global coalition to defeat ISIS presence throughout Iraqi sovereign territory by September 2025.
Yeah, and that a lot of treaties. I remember the petrodollar deal with Saudi, right? That was one treaty that was ending, and if I believe they still haven't signed it yet. Let me Google search here real quick. It's a lot easier to use my tablet here, just because some of my buttons on my keyboard are not working. I actually took the computer to Best Buy one time because my E button was not working. I think I was typing Esau's name in it too much, and the E button stopped working. I took it to Best Buy, and they had no idea how to fix it, and now other buttons are slowly not working, like KJV, the L. Those buttons are kind of in place too, but it is what it is. So let's see if Saudi Arabia signed that deal. Or let me see, Petro. Just bear with me. Deal. All right, so once again, you can type the same thing. I said, well, people also asked, it said, did Saudi Arabia drop the petrodollar? It says no, Saudi Arabia hasn't officially dropped the petrodollar system, which no one can officially drop it because the whole world is based off the dollar. That's just what it is. like your measuring system. When you go measuring something and you say, oh, this amount of water is needed, that's kind of how the world is made when you measure what's happening when you're dealing with money. It says, no, Saudi Arabia hasn't officially dropped the petrodollar system, but there's significant speculation and talk about shifting away from it, with reports suggesting a key 50-year agreement with the U.S. expire in mid 2024, signaling a potential move toward accepting other currencies for oil. Though the dollar remains dominant for now, while Saudi Arabia explores diversification and new currency arrangements like China yuan. It says they still largely price oil in dollars and maintain strong economic ties with the U.S., including nuclear cooperation deals. All right. Yeah, and I believe recently they gave Donald Trump a $700 million plane, something like Air Force One or whatever the case may be, and Trump gave them the fighter jets. I believe it was the F-35 or one of those good ones, right? So, but they haven't, I guess so. Yeah, they haven't renewed that deal, and like I was saying, a lot of deals that America has put in place is ending at the end. You know what I mean? It's like that just the petrodollar deal ended 2024, with the world is switching towards a digital currency anyway. So that ended now. The, these different bases they're pulling out because this was agreements. So these agreements are ending now when the Most High Yahweh Bashim Shah is drawing the nation for war. So America is just losing at every corner. If you think about it strategically, he's saying he needs Venezuela. He wants the oil in Venezuela. He demands Greenland. As he loses other key points around the world.
Ain al-Assad Air Base, throughout its operational history, constituted one of Washington's single most important permanent military installations, strategically positioned throughout the volatile Middle East battle space, serving as forward operating hub for F-16 squadrons and MQ-9 Reaper drone operations. The massive remote air base gained tragic infamy when Iran catastrophically targeted it with dozens of Fateh, 110 ballistic missiles, in January 2020, direct retaliation for America's drone strike.
I will probably play a bit more of that, but so I typed in U.S. withdrawal from Iraq. AI overview says the U.S. withdrawal from Iraq is an ongoing process with a significant pullout from bases like this one occurring in January 2026. That was just the most recent one. It says fulfilling a 2024 agreement for the U.S.-led coalition to transition from combat to an this I can't pronounce the word. It's not adversary, but it's like giving information. Basically they're helping. It's like telling them what to do. Like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. Instead of like actually being there telling them what to do. But ultimately, I don't believe Iraq is going to deal with U.S. like that because they're against Israel committing the G word over there on the Palestinians, and they're also against attacking Iran, and they're going to do that. And now they don't have a base over there in that area, right? So they're going to go to that type of role. It says though some troops remain in the region and Syria, they completely took over Syria. It says to counter ISIS, this is basically like America. This is like Mossad, CIA, FBI, IDF people. So is America fighting America, basically? Because we'll final, and I think they even said one of these people, why don't they never attack Israel? It says with final departure is expected by 2027. So they believe to be fully out of the area by 2027. Personally, yeah, if I will be surprised if we see 2027 with everything that's happening now. Everything is on the table and lined up ready, right? As a matter of fact, let me play this video real quick.
From all corners, and this includes a weapon that wasn't going to go too well for the U.S. empire. What's your take?
Right. So first of all, Trump is first and foremost concerned about optics, right? So he is.
All right. So what he's going to go to explain is basically America is weak, And I have the question: what makes America the greatest military in the world? Was the nuclear bombs? Is it all the troops, all over the area, because basically America's setting themselves up real good. That's why they've been in the Golden Cup. America dropped the first bombs. No one wanted to make war with America. America positioned itself all over the world, overextended itself, right? Got the oil backed by dollar, and it was everywhere, and it was sitting. And from there, it didn't really do much. And a lot of these wars that are coming out, they never fought a war by themselves. Like it was always with other people. That I can remember. Right, I'm not a soldier or anything like that. Just looking at the information. But anyway, he's going to go on to explain how America isn't that great, basically, and how they're going to lose if they attack Iran.
The reality TV star, he spent most of his adult life in the media, either as a celebrity being reported on by tabloids or himself being a reality TV star. He had a hit show called Apprentice on NBC for over a decade, and it was really the #1 show on TV for the longest time. So he's really concerned about opinion, about creating optics that the America is invincible. And that's why for him, Venezuela was such a great success, because Delta Force was able to go in, extract Maduro, and there were no casualties. And that just showed America and the world that America is the most powerful military in the world. But if you look at the recent past, a much more indicative example of American military power is Operation Prosperity Guardian. That's when the Houthis closed the Red Sea in protest of the genocide in Gaza. And America deployed this massive fleet to strike at the Houthis. And the Houthis at this point, remember, they are poor, so their navy consisted of sailboats and fishing vessels. And you just saw the videos of Operation Prosperity Guardian. It is really impressive. These warships backed up by helicopters and fighter jets. And everyone thought that, wow, the Americans are going to go in and smack the Houthis. And then they tried this for months and months, and they got nowhere because the Houthis refused to give up. And the Americans aren't actually used to fighting a war.
Hey, when I thought about that, I was in my mind, like, fuck you. So, shalom to the brothers, continue to endure into the end. This is another, battle, right? Spiritual battle that we're fighting against these devils. They're in the corner, of course, but, long as we endure into the end, they're wavering. And matter of fact, I can't even think about it, but the scripture is a perfect scripture that I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I'll bring it out in a future video. But us staying strong and firm like this is weakening these devils, right? That's the case too. So shalom to the elder apostles, since the 1960s, still in this thing. I don't see them wavering, and that gives us brothers good faith and good hope. Every time, I say to myself sometimes, like, bro, you've been trying since the 1960s. You think you about to do anything? That's type of thing. I'm how I be operating out here. And I'm battling these demons, and all of that. Whatever the case may be. But hey, shalom to the brothers. Stay strong. The sincere elect brothers, right? Not you compromised fucks. Anyway.
Or against an adversary who refuses to give up. They're used to shock and awe. They're used to scaring people and intimidating people with the display of their military might. And the Americans refused to take casualties. So they didn't send in ground forces, and the Houthis were able to, I believe, even sink an American ship. So it was a disaster for the American military. And there was this huge debate among the American military as to what to do. You actually watch these panels. They're actually on YouTube. You'll hear these 4-star generals and admirals go on and say, like, we recognize the limitations of American power in the Red Sea. We're not willing to make sacrifices. We're not willing to accept casualties. We want a cheap and easy win. And so we need to reflect on how to improve. And then someone in the audience asks, well, what are you going to do? And the response has always been, well, we'll think about it, And then the next question is, what are you going to do that's going to be different? And the generals and admirals were like, nothing. Well, we're going to keep the course, okay? So that's the state of the American military. The American military is not in the position to win a full-scale war against an adversary that's willing to fight back. Okay, they definitely can't win a war against Russia. And we know that because of what's happening in Ukraine. They can't even win a war against the Houthis. So, this war against Iran will be a disaster.
And he's gonna say, is that a disaster? And that's what I was saying. I'm like, America really hasn't fought a war by themselves and went against nobody, strong enough to even do anything about what they were doing. So not so great.
The American military is not in a position to win a full-scale war against an adversary that's willing to fight back. Okay, they definitely can't win a war against Russia. And we know that because of what's happening in Ukraine. They can't even win a war against the Houthis. So, this war against Iran will be a disaster, and Trump sort of knows that. So he's trying to hold this off as much as possible. At the same time, because of the nature of empire, you're committed to fighting this war. And the reason why is that the way to control public opinion, the way to control the globe as an empire is through intimidation, right? Through the fact that we can strike at you at any place, at any time. And they were able to do that with Operation Iraqi freedom in 2003, shock and awe, that intimidated the entire world. But then in 2022, the Russians attacked Ukraine, and the Americans were not able to stop them. So now the aura of American invincibility and inability has dissipated, and America needs to reestablish this by taking on Iran and showing that America still has what it takes. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that geopolitically, Iran is the pivot point of the world. It always has been.
Yeah, so I'm gonna finish watching this. I haven't finished watching it. Most likely might watch it. We'll see. But I did catch that part. You can check it out. But anyway, where I was going at, but the trap regarding the land is set. These individuals are pulling out of the area as the Most High Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is mustering the host to the battle, and they are being drawn out. Mind you, there's still bases there. They're still sending ships to the area, whatever the case may be. This is Jeremiah 50 and 22. It says, "A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai." And that's the point. The Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has laid a snare for these devils. And one of those snares is the fact that they're pulling out, of the area for like strategic basis. And this is their plans. They set in motion, before. And now at a critical time like this is not a time you're trying to pull out of nowhere, It says, let me read this, Ecclesiastes, right? Let me see. Yeah, Ecclesiastes. It says, Ecclesiastes 9:12, it says, "For man knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in evil time, when it falls suddenly upon them." And we're in those days. We're in that evil time. The elder apostles say Jacob's trouble is everyone's trouble. What is it? Ezekiel 7. Ezekiel 7 and 5. And we know that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows, right? It says Ezekiel 7 and 5 says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and evil and only evil, behold, is come. And end is come, the end is coming, watch it for thee, behold, is come." And this devil is pulling out of these areas. So he's being snared in the evil time. Okay. And I had this scripture. Let me make sure this was a clean. Yeah. Okay. Get this Job 18 and 5. You can also get Isaiah 19, because this council, a great fall has been happening, which they've been falling since they said they went to the moon. Right, that's right when pretty much the truth started coming out, around that time. But I believe 2020, 2021 with that pestilence, right? Things has been definitely shifting, I think people will say the same too, I was going to go to Isaiah 19. So, this council that these devils have is confounded. They're not making good decisions. Isaiah 19 and 3 says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof." So the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is destroying the counsel of these devils. So it wasn't a good plan to say, yeah, we'll pull out these bases. And now that we're at the end where they're about to go to war, they're losing their footing, right? It says in this, where it matters, it says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. So ultimately, in these last days, they're going to seek to, a big one is the AI, artificial intelligence, to see how they can win. You know, this is Job 18:5. It says, "Yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down." You know, and this is another point. The devil set these plans into motion for him to pull out of these bases. You know, because he could have easily continued to use ISIS in that area and say, "Oh no, we need to stay here because look," you know, but he had to use ISIS in other areas, or the case may be, right? So it says, "The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet and walketh upon a snare. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the wood. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength." And that is Yahweh Shah, because ultimately Yahweh Shah is going to pull up, right, when this great war is happening, and burn up the armies. What is Isaiah 34, right? Second Ezra 13. Okay. It says, "His countenance shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors." And the NLT says, "They are torn from the security of their homes, and they are brought to the king of terrors," right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. And ultimately, you know, the scriptures say his lip was more stout than his fellows. Isaiah 10, Psalms 10 says, "As for his enemies, he puffeth at them." You know, so, you know, they think they're secure, you know, wherever they may be at. That's why Obadiah 1 says, "Even though, you know, thou set thy nest among the stars, hence, you know, will I bring thee down." You know, basically the pride of this devil. Edom will be humbled. Obadiah 1:3 says, "The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah." All right. Job 18:14, it says, his confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. You see the thing. It says, he is torn from his tent, which is trusted for safety, and he is marched and brought to the king of terrors, death. Right, and ultimately he's going to be dragged over here to this war, right, in the Middle East, the Levant region. It says, Job 18:5, it shall dwell in his tabernacle because it's none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His root shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son or nephew, nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, and they that went before him affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, right? Complete destruction. And as the wicked, right? Esau, Edom, to be utterly destroyed. Obadiah 1:18. Okay. All right, so pretty much that's all I had with this. I just want to blow the horn on that. Let's see what else they got here.
Assassination of IRGC Quds Force Commander General Qasem Soleimani at Baghdad International Airport. That devastating Iranian missile barrage injured over 100 American troops, suffering traumatic brain injuries, alongside underscoring throughout Pentagon the fundamental vulnerability confronting all U.S. troops permanently stationed throughout Iranian proxies encircled territory inside sovereign Iraq. Pentagon defense officials formally confirmed to Reuters correspondents that all sensitive U.S. military equipment, including radar systems, secure communications gear, and aviation ordnance have been meticulously removed from Ain al-Assad well before final flag lowering ceremonies commenced. This base closure significantly strengthens ongoing bilateral negotiations seeking comprehensive disarmament of powerful Iranian-backed popular mobilization forces militias throughout Iraq that consistently cited enduring U.S. military presence, serving as principal operational justification for armed resistance. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani publicly argued throughout Al-Araqiya broadcasts that once all remaining foreign combat troops completely depart Iraqi soil, domestic militias will lose any remaining legal pretext for operating violently outside exclusive state security authority chains of command. Baghdad strategically framed Ain al-Assad's formal handover ceremony throughout state media as glorious national sovereignty restoration milestone, though actual accelerated timing brutally reflects Washington's own hardening regional security calculations amid spiraling Iranian proxy threats. This symbolic U.S. ground withdrawal arrived.
All right, so you can check this if you want to, wherever the case may be. I'll say Shalom to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.